All right, so with the recent banking issues, bank stocks have pulled back, some of them very significantly. So I wanted to talk a little bit about it. The first thing being is, are we going to see another banking crisis, right? This is something that's definitely a concern right now. And in my opinion, it probably comes down to how hawkish does the Fed get or stay. Because if they stay super hawkish, we very well could see another banking crisis, right? Like maybe not just as bad as '08, but it very well could be, right? We've already seen a handful of banks go under, right? And this Monday we've had another handful that have gone down very significantly, right? So again, I wanted to talk about that because at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to happen, right? It is still pretty unlikely because the only thing worse than, well, I mean, not the only thing, but one of the things that would be worse than inflation staying hot is a financial crisis, right? So I don't think the Fed is, even though I'm heavily critical of them, I don't think they're stupid enough to take a financial crisis over 5% inflation. I don't believe they're that stupid. So um, I wanted to talk about some banks, right? Because given the recent pullback, I think there's some banks that are selling at a good price right now. EQB is probably my favorite Canadian bank. They are still not super cheap. I mean, if we look at their valuation right now, they're actually right about their average, right about their 5-year average. So they're probably fairly valued where they're at right now. But if you look at this bank, it is growing very, very quickly compared to other banks. And on top of that, that dividend is going up 22% a year, right? So I just love this bank. And the one thing I'll point out here to start things out as well, I'm not as big of a fan as the big banks, right? The TDs, the RBCs, and then in the States, your JP Morgans and stuff like that. Because although I think they're decent, right? I mean, I think they'll have decent returns. The problem with the really big banks is they won't be able to grow as fast as the smaller ones, right? And I mean, not only that, you have EQB that's growing their dividend faster, although their dividend is quite a bit lower, right? Um, the dividend right now is not the concern, right? Because if you're invested for the long run, you are concerned with how much is that dividend going to grow over the long run, not where is the dividend at right now, right? And that's why I like EQB, right? I mean, if you look at it like a TD or RBC, their dividend is what, 4.5%, but they're growing it at like 5, 6, 7% a year, right? Their dividend is double as high, but EQB is growing 3 times as fast, right? So if your concern is I want a company that's going to be the best 10, 20 years from now, in my opinion, EQB is better, right? As far as some other ones go, HDB again, they're the largest bank in India. I think India over the next 10 or 20 years they're going to have some growth, right? They're going to have some serious growth. Emerging markets are famous for never really emerging, but I think India could be one of the exceptions to that rule. And I mean, what better exposure to have than their largest bank, right? Their dividend is nothing special by any means, but their growth is crazy good. They're very profitable. Their returns are very good. And not only that, they're actually priced decent where they're at, right? I think they're priced fairly good right now to pick it up, especially with the recent pullback, right? Some other ones. This is the largest bank in, I believe it's Puerto Rico, Popular Bank. Yeah, San Juan, Puerto Rico, sorry. Look at the earnings yield on this company, 28%, right? They've came down pretty significantly. They were at a week ago. They were at just over 70. They are now down into the 50s. So they've came down like what, 15, 20%. That's pretty significant. But again, look at how they're growing that. Look at how they're growing their dividend here, if it will load. 17%. The current yield is just under is 3.86%, and they're growing at 17% per year, right? So they're growing it very, very nicely. Obviously, there's some concerns given Puerto Rico is tied to the states, right? There's some concerns there. They are growing okay, nothing special, but pretty average. But again, very profitable, very good returns, and they are priced fairly good at this valuation, right? I don't think you're going to get rich off a company like this, but again, if they can grow that dividend at 17% a year, when it's already just under 4%, like I don't know why you wouldn't be interested, in my opinion. Some other ones, if we go down here, Evercore, they are an investment bank, so a little bit different. Although again, they've been hit pretty hard, actually really hard. They were at 132. They're now down to 116. So they've been hit really hard as well. But again, 10% earnings yield, dividend, very stable, 2.47%. Again, payout ratio only 24%. They're going at 12% a year. So again, they're going to be able to grow that dividend pretty much the same. I'm not super concerned. Again, the growth is something that's concerning because when it comes to investment banking, that does get hit a little bit harder when times are like this. But it's only a matter of time until the Fed reverses course, in my opinion. The returns are very good. They're very profitable, and they are priced very cheap. A price to free cash flow of 4.7, right? So, and this is a company that's beat the S&P over the 5-year. They haven't beat it over, the 3-year. So pretty much the same. But again, you're buying these companies for the dividend growth, in the dividend and the dividend growth, in my opinion. If we look at some other ones here, we have, this isn't a direct bank necessarily, but they are in the financial sector. This is a company, Federal Agricultural Mortgage. Again, they provide loans to farmers, essentially, right? And again, another company that's got hit very hard. But if we look at, again, let's check out the dividend. Again, I'm always going to bring that up. 3.41%. They're growing at 21% a year. The payout ratio is only 24%. So again, very good dividend at 3.4%, and the growth is phenomenal, and the payout ratio is still very low. This company is technically at where, let's look at the valuation. Again, price to free cash flow of 2, right? So they're not expensive. No, again, that is basically the same as the average, but they beat the S&P over the 3-year, the 5-year also as well. So they're a pretty solid company again, but they have got hit pretty hard lately. I think, although they have hit a recent all-time high, but they've gotten hit, I think, because of what the Fed is doing and because of this banking issue, right? So this is a company that you may want to wait a little bit, in my opinion. If we look at let's look at over the last year. So again, they've gotten a lot lower. Like they've been below 100 over the last year, the low 90s even. So this is a company that still, you could argue, is expensive. I don't think it's that expensive. I wouldn't be jumping in right now, but if you could get a little bit more of a pullback, in my opinion, you could pick it up right here. As far as some other ones go, do I have any other ones I wanted to talk about here? Yes. This may be the best regional bank, Preferred Bank of Los Angeles. How hard have they gotten hit recently? They've gotten hit pretty hard as well. Every banking stock has gotten hit pretty hard, but specifically the regional banks. Again, earnings yield just under 15%, current dividend 3.7%, and then again, they're growing at 20% per year. So again, these are the kind of companies you want, right? In my opinion, and look at that, they've destroyed the S&P over the last 10 years. They're up 259%. The S&P is up 115. So they've absolutely destroyed it. And again, look at this dividend growth. Like, look at this dividend growth. They were 40 cents back in 2014. Now they're up to $2.20. So if you'd have bought this company back in 2014, you'd have a 10% yield on cost. So again, if you can get a 10% yield on cost 10 years from now, frankly, you don't care if the stock returns 2 or 3% a year, right? And that's why I'm interested in some of these companies. Now, again, the other thing I haven't pointed out here is I don't have a large position in any of these companies. These are all small positions because you probably want to limit your position in the financial sector as a whole to 10, 15%, right? Maybe 20 if you're super bullish, right? So again, I do hold small positions in all of these companies. I'm not necessarily super bullish on all of them. Um, Other ones, we have Bank First. I believe they've gotten hit very hard as well. Let's check it out. Not actually too bad. They're 89. They're now down to 86. So they've actually held up better than most. Again, earnings yield 6.75%, current dividend 1.8. So they're definitely lower than the sector as a whole. But again, they are growing it nicely, just under 14% per year. Again, look at that, just super, super consistent, super consistent. They are a regional bank again. They are out of Oklahoma, I believe. Let's double check here. Yeah, Oklahoma. They have banks in, let's see, so Dallas and Oklahoma, it looks like. Again, those are good areas, right? Another thing you want to keep an eye on for when it comes to regional banks is, are they in a good area, right? That's something that's a little concerning about the last one I brought up, Preferred. But you want to have, if you're going to buy regional banks, you want to buy regional banks that have exposure to areas that are growing, right? In the States, it's your Floridas, Texas, those kind of places, right? New York and some places in California, not as much, right? Not as much. Another thing I would have brought up too is that I follow someone that was bullish on Signature Bank, and they're one of the ones that is down very, very large. They might even go under. I haven't even heard an update on that. And I didn't buy it because I was very skeptical. So definitely had a bit of a sixth sense there. I never really looked into Silicon Valley Bank, but Signature Bank, I definitely did. I definitely did look pretty hard at that one, and I didn't buy because I was just a little bit skeptical about them. The last one I would bring up is not a bank, but they are in the financial sector, is goeasy. They're out of Canada as well. This is a company that survived. I believe they've been around since literally the tech bubble, right? So they've been around since at least 2000, right? At least so they were around during the tech bubble. They survived the tech bubble. They survived the '08 crash. So this is a company that I don't see a banking crisis knocking them off, right? Earnings yield 8.6%. The current dividend is 3.4. Here is a decent spot to pick this company. How hard have they gotten hit in the last week? So they started at 124. They're down to about 112 and a half. So they've gotten hit fairly hard. But again, the reason I'm super interested in this company, like a lot of these, is the dividend. Look at that, 38% growth, like 38% growth. Payout ratio 39%, so it's pretty stable. But again, look at that dividend growth, 34 cents a share in 2014. They're up to $3.64, right? If you'd have bought this company 10 years ago, you'd have a 21% yield on cost, right? If you're getting 21% return per year, do you care if it goes down 10 or 20%? Like, no, right? You really don't. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Again, those are there's some other ones I like too, but these are the ones that I have positions in, and they're probably my favorites. Like I said, do your own due diligence. There's no guarantee. The Fed easily could tighten too hard. And honestly, like if one of these collapsed, it wouldn't shock me, right? That's the price you pay for investing these days, right? So again, do your own due diligence. If you like the video, hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.